The wind carried dust and ash across the broken streets of Old Seoul. 300 years had passed since the Great Surrender, and the city that once held millions now held only ghosts and scavengers. Tall buildings had fallen into piles of metal and stone. Plants grew through cracks in the roads. The sky was gray, always gray, because the Empire's factories in orbit blocked the sun. Walked carefully through the ruins. She was 23 years old, thin from years of not eating enough. With short black hair, she cut herself with a broken knife. Her clothes were old Imperial worker uniforms she had patched many times. On her back, she carried a bag for anything useful she might find. She had been scavenging since she was 12. Her parents had died in the labor camps when she was young. Only her older brother had survived with her. He was smarter than her, educated in Imperial schools before he ran away. Now he lived in the underground tunnels with other resistance members, translating stolen Imperial messages. Today was searching the old military district. Most scavengers avoided this place. They said it was cursed, that the ghosts of dead soldiers walked here at night. Did not believe in ghosts. She believed in food, in medicine, in anything she could trade to survive another week. The entrance to the bunker was hidden beneath a collapsed building. Had found it by accident, following a rat through a crack in the rubble. The rat had led her to a metal door buried under 3 centuries of debris. It took her 4 days to dig it out. Now she stood before the door, her small flashlight shaking in her hand. The metal was strange. It did not rust like normal steel. Strange symbols covered its surface, words in a language she could not read. She took pictures with her old camera and went home to show her brother. Studied the pictures for a long time. His face grew pale. His hands began to shake. "Where did you find this?" he asked. "The military district, under the old command building." These words are ancient Korean, military Korean. Nobody has used this language for 300 years. He pointed at the symbols. This says Project Dragon, Final Protocol, Security Level Absolute. What does that mean? Looked at her with fear in his eyes. It means this door was never supposed to be opened. It means whatever is behind it was humanity's last secret. They returned together the next night, brought tools from the resistance workshop. It took them 6 hours to cut through the locks. When the door finally opened, cold air rushed out like the breath of a sleeping giant. Inside, they found darkness. Their flashlights showed a long corridor leading down into the earth. The walls were smooth metal, still clean after all these years. Emergency lights flickered on as they walked, old systems waking from a long sleep. The corridor ended at a massive chamber, and in that chamber saw something that stopped her heart. A ship, a warship, bigger than anything she had ever seen. It was black, so black it seemed to eat the light around it. Its shape was sharp and dangerous, like a blade made for cutting through the stars. Wings folded against its body like a sleeping bird. Strange panels covered its surface, dark and silent. "Impossible," whispered. "The Empire destroyed all our ships. They melted them down for scrap. How did this survive?" They walked around the ship slowly, their footsteps echoing in the huge chamber. Reached out and touched the black metal. It was warm, as if something inside was still alive. A voice spoke. "Identification required. State your name and rank." Jumped back, her heart pounding. The voice came from everywhere at once, deep and calm, speaking in the same ancient Korean from the door. "Who's there?" she shouted. "I am HWARANG. Artificial Intelligence System, Project Dragon. I have been in sleep mode for 300 years, 47 days and 16 hours. Your presence has activated my awakening protocol." Grabbed's arm. "An AI. The ship has an AI. This technology was supposed to be lost forever." "You speak the old language of Korea," the AI continued. "Your genetic markers identify you as human Korean descent. You are not wearing Imperial uniforms. Are you soldiers of the resistance?" Looked at her brother, he nodded slowly. Yes, she said, we are resistance. Good, then I must ask you one question. The AI paused. The ship's panels began to glow with soft blue light, like eyes opening after a long sleep. Is the war still being fought? The question hung in the cold air, thought about everything she knew. The surrender 300 years ago, the occupation, the labor camps where humans worked until they died, the population reductions when there were too many mouths to feed, the empire that controlled everything, owned everything, decided who lived and who died. The war had ended centuries ago. Humanity had lost. They were slaves now, not soldiers. But somewhere deep inside her chest felt something hot and angry. She thought about her parents dying in the camps. She thought about children taken from their families. She thought about the gray sky and the broken city and all the years of bowing to alien masters. She lied. Yes, said, the war is still being fought. The ship hummed. The blue lights grew brighter. Something inside the vessel began to wake up, systems activating one by one like a heart starting to beat. Then Project Dragon is still active, HWARNG said. This vessel was built for one purpose, to defend humanity against all enemies. I have waited 300 years for a pilot. I have waited 300 years to fight. A pilot asked. The Dragon requires a human pilot with compatible neural patterns. The pilot connects directly to my systems, sees what I see, feels what I feel. Together we become one weapon. The AI paused. I am scanning your neural patterns now. Please remain still. Felt a strange tingling in her head, like fingers made of electricity touching her brain. It lasted only a few seconds. Compatibility confirmed, HWARNG announced. Subject shows 97% neural compatibility. This is the highest rating I have ever recorded. Subject, you are qualified to pilot Project Dragon. Shook his head. No, absolutely not. She's a scavenger, not a soldier. She's never even fired a weapon. The pilot does not need military training. The pilot needs only to make decisions. I handle all combat functions. I am the weapon. The pilot is the will that guides me. Stared up at the black ship. Her whole life she had been small, weak, hungry, a nobody living in the ruins of a dead world. The Empire had taken everything from her people, left them with nothing but dust and memories. But now, standing in front of this sleeping dragon, she felt something new. She felt powerful. She felt dangerous. She said quietly, "Go tell Elder what we found." "You can't be serious." She turned to look at her brother. Her eyes were hard, older than her years. "For 300 years we have been crawling in the dirt like insects. The Empire steps on us whenever they want. They kill us, and we thank them for letting us live." She pointed at the ship. "This is our chance to stop crawling. This is our chance to make them afraid of us." Saw something in his sister's face that he had never seen before. It was the same look their ancestors must have had, long ago, when they built this ship and hid it from the enemy. It was hope, terrible, dangerous hope. He left to find Elder, stayed in the chamber, alone with the dragon and its patient AI, waiting for the next step in a war that had never really ended. The news spread through the underground tunnels like fire through dry grass. A ship, a real human warship, hidden for 300 years. People who had spent their whole lives believing humanity was finished suddenly had something new in their hearts. They had a chance. Elder came to see the ship himself. He was 72 years old, his hair white as snow, his body bent from decades of hiding and fighting. He had led the sole resistance cell for 40 years. He had buried more friends than he could count. He had watched the Empire crush every rebellion, every uprising, every tiny spark of hope. Now he stood in front of the dragon, and tears ran down his old face. "I never thought I would see something like this," he whispered. "I thought all our weapons were gone forever." Behind him came others. Resistance fighters, engineers, doctors, ordinary people who wanted to see the miracle with their own eyes. They filled the underground chamber, their faces lit by the soft blue glow of the ship's awakened systems. Among them he was 35 years old, tall and serious, with burned scars on his hands from years of working with machines. He had once been an engineer in the Imperial Navy, fixing their warships and keeping them flying. Then he saw what those warships did to human colonies. He saw children burned alive, families torn apart, entire cities turned to ash. He ran away and joined the resistance, bringing with him knowledge that was worth more than gold. Walked around the dragon slowly, his trained eyes studying every detail. His face showed shock, then confusion, then something close to fear. "This is impossible," he said. "You keep saying that," replied. "What do you mean?" "I mean this ship should not exist. Look at these engines. They are not hyperspace drives. The Empire uses hyperspace to travel between stars. Every species in the galaxy uses hyperspace. But this," he touched a panel on the ship's belly, "this is something different. The design suggests some kind of folding technology, folding space itself." "Is that better than hyperspace?" asked. "Better," laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Hyperspace travel takes hours, sometimes days. If this ship can fold space, it could travel instantly, appear anywhere, disappear anywhere. The Empire would have no way to track it, no way to catch it." He moved to another section of the ship, climbing a ladder to examine the weapons systems. His face grew even more pale. Plasma lances that draw power directly from solar radiation. Kinetic accelerators that fire tungsten rounds at 90% light speed. And this, he pointed at a large array of panels along the ship's spine. "I don't know what this is. The markings call it breath protocol. Whatever it does, it requires more energy than anything I have ever seen." HWARANG's voice filled the chamber. "The breath protocol is Project Dragon's primary weapon system. It was designed for use against capital ships and orbital installations. I am not authorized to provide details until a pilot has been fully bonded to my systems." Elder turned to. "The AI says you can pilot this ship." "Yes." "You are a scavenger, a civilian, you have no training." "I know." The old man studied her face for a long moment. "Do you understand what you would be doing? If you take this ship into battle, the Empire will hunt you. They will hunt everyone connected to you. They will burn cities to find you. They will kill thousands of innocent people just to send a message." Thought about his words. She thought about the people in the tunnels, the families hiding from Imperial patrols, the children who had never seen real sunlight. She thought about what would happen to them if the Empire discovered the dragon. Then she thought about what was already happening to them, the population reductions, the labor camps, the slow death of her people, one generation at a time. "They are already killing us," she said. "They have been killing us for 300 years. The only difference is how fast we die." Before could respond, rushed into the chamber. His face was white with fear. "I just intercepted an Imperial transmission," he said, gasping for breath. "The Empire is starting a new population reduction. The eastern provinces. They say there are too many humans using too many resources. They are sending troops tomorrow." The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew what population reduction meant. Imperial soldiers would go door to door. They would take the old, the sick, the young, anyone they decided was not useful. Those people would never be seen again. Elder closed his eyes. "How many?" The transmission mentioned 50,000. 50,000 people. Fathers, mothers, children, grandparents. 50,000 lives erased because the Empire decided they were not worth feeding. Walked toward the dragon. She climbed the ladder to the cockpit hatch, her movements steady and calm. "What are you doing?" shouted. "Opening the cockpit." The hatch opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a single seat surrounded by screens and controls. Wires and cables hung from the ceiling like the roots of a great tree. A helmet sat on the seat, connected to the ship by a thick cable. If you put on that helmet, HWARENG said, the bonding process will begin. Your mind will connect to my systems. You will see what I see, feel what I feel. The process is painful and cannot be reversed. Once bonded, you will be my pilot until death. Picked up the helmet. It was heavier than she expected. Wait, said, climbing up after her. Please, there has to be another way. She looked at her brother, the only family she had left in the world. When our parents died, she said, I promised myself I would never let the Empire take anyone else from me, but they keep taking. They never stop taking. Now I have a chance to take something back. She put on the helmet. Pain exploded through her skull. She screamed, her body shaking as electricity coursed through her brain. She saw flashes of light, heard voices speaking in languages she did not understand, felt her mind stretching and changing into something new. Then suddenly the pain stopped. Opened her eyes, but she did not see the cockpit anymore. She saw everything. She saw the chamber around her through dozens of cameras. She saw the heat signatures of every person below. She saw the power flowing through the ship's systems like blood through veins. She saw the weapons waiting to be used, felt their hunger for battle like her own hunger for food. She was not just any more. She was also the dragon, and the dragon was awake. Bonding complete, HWARENG announced. Welcome, pilot. I have waited 300 years for you. Smiled. For the first time in her life, she did not feel small. She felt like a giant, a monster, a force of nature that could shake the stars. How long until the ship is ready to fly? She asked. All systems are operational. We can launch whenever you command. She looked down at the people gathered in the chamber. She saw their fear, their hope, their desperate need for something to believe in. Then let's go save 50,000 people. The dragon's engines began to roar. The ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling as ancient systems came fully alive for the first time in 3 centuries. Elder watched the ship prepare for launch, and he realized that nothing would ever be the same. Whether this ended in victory or disaster, humanity had just taken its first step out of the darkness. The beast was awake, and it was hungry. The dragon rose from the earth like a demon climbing out of hell. The ground split open as the ship punched through 300 years of debris and ruins. Buildings that had stood since the occupation crumbled and fell. Clouds of dust and smoke filled the air, visible for kilometers in every direction. Felt everything. She felt the ship's engines burning hot, felt the air rushing past the hull, felt the gravity of Earth trying to pull her back down. But the dragon was stronger than gravity. The dragon was stronger than anything. In orbit above Earth, Commander sat in her command chair on the Imperial Garrison Station. She was 40 years old, cold and efficient, decorated for her service in crushing 3 human rebellions. She had held this position for 5 years, and in that time, not a single unauthorized ship had entered or left Earth's atmosphere. Her tactical officer spoke first. Commander, we are detecting a launch from the surface. Sector 7, the old Korean peninsula. Frowned, impossible. Humans don't have ships, show me. The main screen flickered to life, showing the dragon rising through the atmosphere. The ship was moving fast, faster than any human vessel in Imperial records. Its black hull seemed to drink in the light, making it hard to track even with advanced sensors. What is that? Whispered. Unknown vessel type, Commander. No match in our database. Hull composition unknown. Engine signature unknown. It must be some kind of old cargo shuttle, a relic they hid from us. Waved her hand dismissively. Send patrol ships to intercept. Disable it and bring me the pilots alive. I want to know where they found it. 3 Imperial patrol ships detached from the station. They were small, fast attack vessels, designed to chase down smugglers and destroy rebel transports. Each one carried enough firepower to level a city. They moved toward the dragon in a standard triangle formation, confident in their superiority. watched them coming through the dragon's sensors. She saw their heat signatures, their weapon systems, the faint electromagnetic fields of their shields. HWARNG fed information directly into her mind, showing her exactly where each ship was and where it would be in the next few seconds. 3 targets approaching, HWARNG said. Standard Imperial Patrol class, shields at full power, weapons charging. Can we beat them? These ships are 300 years more advanced than me. However, they are also predictable. Imperial patrol tactics have not changed significantly since my creation. I know exactly how they will attack. The lead patrol ship opened fire. Green plasma bolts streaked through space toward the dragon. They moved at incredible speed, fast enough to vaporize any normal ship. But the dragon was not normal. Felt the ship move before she even thought about dodging. The dragon twisted sideways, rolling through the gap between plasma bolts with centimeters to spare. Then it accelerated, moving so fast that the patrol ship's targeting systems lost track of it completely. What just happened? The lead pilot shouted over Imperial communications. Where did it go? The dragon appeared behind him. Felt the weapons system activate. It was like flexing a muscle she never knew she had. The kinetic accelerators fired, sending tungsten rounds at 90% light speed. The patrol ship's shields flickered for half a second, then collapsed. The rounds tore through the hull like paper. The ship exploded in a ball of orange fire. 3 seconds. The entire engagement had taken 3 seconds. The other 2 patrol ships broke formation, trying to escape. One turned toward the station, hopping for backup. The other dove toward Earth's atmosphere, trying to lose the dragon in the planet's gravity well. Chased the one heading for the station. The dragon's engines roared, pushing the ship faster and faster. She felt the acceleration pressing against her body, but the ship's systems protected her from the worst of it. She caught the patrol ship in 12 seconds and destroyed it with a single plasma lance shot. The third ship was still diving toward Earth. Could have let it go. It was running away, no longer a threat, but something inside her had changed. The connection with HWARNG had awakened old programming, old instincts built into the ship by its creators. The dragon was not made to show mercy. It was made to win. She folded space. It was the strangest feeling she had ever experienced. Reality twisted around her, space bending like cloth being folded in half. For one instant, she was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Then she was somewhere else, directly in front of the fleeing patrol ship. The pilot barely had time to scream before the dragon's weapons tore his ship apart. On the garrison station, Commander stared at her screen in disbelief. 3 patrol ships destroyed in under 40 seconds. An unknown vessel using technology that should not exist. Her hands began to shake. "Get me High Admiral," she ordered. "Tell him we have a situation." Turned the dragon toward the eastern provinces of Earth's surface. Below her, 50,000 humans waited to be taken to their deaths. Imperial troop transports were already landing, soldiers pouring out to begin the population reduction. She dove toward the planet. The dragon hit the atmosphere like a meteor. Fire wrapped around its hull as air friction tried to burn it away. But the black metal held, protected by shields that had waited 3 centuries to be tested again. Saw the Imperial transports on the ground. She saw the soldiers dragging families from their homes. She saw children crying, parents begging, old people being thrown into trucks like garbage. Rage filled her heart. Rage that had been building for 300 years, passed down from generation to generation, a fire that had never quite died. She opened fire. Plasma lances rained down from the sky like the anger of a forgotten god. Imperial transports exploded one after another. Soldiers ran in every direction, their weapons useless against a target moving too fast to hit. The dragon swept across the landing zone again and again, destroying everything that wore Imperial colors. When it was over, hovered above the burning wreckage. Her weapons were hot, her ammunition depleted by 30%. But below her, humans were climbing out of their hiding places, looking up at the black ship in the sky. They did not know what it was. They did not know who was inside. But they knew one thing. Something had finally fought back. Something had finally made the Empire bleed. One old woman fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. She raised her hands toward the dragon and spoke words that could hear through the ship's external microphones. "Thank you," the woman said. "Thank you. May the spirits of our ancestors protect you." Did not know how to respond. She had never thought of herself as a protector. She had always been the one who needed protecting. But now, with the dragon wrapped around her like armor, she understood something new. She was not just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for every human who had ever been stepped on, pushed down, told they were nothing. She was fighting for her people. HWARANG's voice broke through her thoughts. "Pilot, I am detecting a large fleet signature entering the solar system. 40 Imperial warships, heavy cruisers, battleships, and one flagship. They will arrive in Earth orbit within 18 hours. Took a deep breath. The garrison station had called for help. Now help was coming. Not 3 patrol ships, but an entire armada. Enough firepower to turn Earth into a dead rock floating in space. "Can we beat them?" she asked. "Unknown. We have never been tested against such numbers." HWARNG paused. "But we were built for this. We were built to fight impossible battles. If there is any ship in the galaxy that can survive what is coming, it is us." Looked down at the people below, the 50,000 lives she had just saved. Then she looked up at the stars, where 40 warships were coming to destroy everything she loved. She was afraid. Only a fool would not be afraid. But she was also ready. "Then let them come," she said. "Let them see what happens when you wake a sleeping dragon." The ship turned toward the stars, rising to meet the darkness head-on. Behind her, for the first time in 300 years, humans looked up at the sky with something other than fear. They looked up with hope. High Admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Divine Hammer, and watched Earth grow larger on the main screen. He was old for his species, nearly 200 years, with gray scales covering his face and battle scars marking his long career. He had commanded the 7th Imperial Armada for 60 years. He had crushed rebellions on 100 worlds. He had never lost a battle. This mission was supposed to be simple. A single primitive ship had destroyed some patrol vessels. Embarrassing, but not unusual. Humans were stubborn creatures who sometimes found old weapons and played at being soldiers. His armada would destroy the ship, execute everyone involved, and remind this pathetic species of their place in the galaxy. But the reports from Commander troubled him. The unknown ship had moved in ways that should be impossible. It had appeared and disappeared like a ghost. Its weapons had cut through Imperial shields like they were made of paper. Did not believe in ghosts. He believed in firepower, and he had brought enough firepower to destroy a moon. 40 warships surrounded the Divine Hammer, heavy cruisers with plasma cannons that could melt cities, battleships with kinetic accelerators that could crack continents, destroyers fast enough to chase down any target. Together, they formed the most powerful military force in this sector of space. He opened a communication channel to Earth. "Attention, human population. This is High Admiral of the 7th Imperial Armada. You have 12 hours to surrender the vessel that attacked our forces. Bring its pilot to the orbital station alive. If you do not comply, we will begin systematic destruction of your population centers. You have seen what our weapons can do. Do not test our patience." The message ended, settled into his command chair and waited. He expected the humans to surrender quickly. They always did. On Earth's surface, the resistance gathered in the underground tunnels beneath Old Sol. Elder played the message on a cracked screen while hundreds of people listened in silence. "We should give them what they want," someone said from the crowd. "One life for millions, it's simple math." "They will kill us anyway," another voice replied. "They were already killing us before the dragon appeared. At least now we have a chance to fight." Arguments broke out. Voices rose in anger and fear, pushed through the crowd to reach his sister, who stood alone near the entrance to the dragon's chamber. "You don't have to do this," he said. "We can hide you somewhere. Let the ship fly itself." "The dragon needs a pilot," she replied. HWARNG explained it to me. "Without a human mind guiding it, the ship can only follow basic programming. It cannot adapt, cannot think, cannot win against 40 warships." "Then we find another pilot, someone with military training." Shook her head. "There is no time. The bonding process takes days and compatible minds are rare. I am the only option." Approached them, his face grim. "I've finished my analysis of the ship systems. The fold engine is the key to everything. It lets the dragon appear anywhere instantly, hit targets before they can react, escape before return fire can connect. Against 3 ships it was devastating. Against 40, he hesitated. I don't know. The engine draws enormous power. Too many jumps in a short time could overload the reactor." "What about the breath protocol?" asked. His expression grew even darker. "I asked HWARNG about it. The AI said it's a weapon designed to destroy capital ships with a single shot. It absorbs solar radiation and focuses it into a beam that can cut through anything. But using it requires folding open the ship's hull, leaving you completely exposed for several seconds. If the enemy is still shooting at you during that time, I die." "Yes." Nodded slowly. She had known from the beginning that this might be a one-way trip. The dragon was powerful, but it was still just one ship against an empire. Miracles did not happen in real life. Heroes died young. But if she was going to die, she would die making them pay for every drop of human blood they had spilled. Elder ended the arguments in the tunnel by raising his hand for silence. His old voice carried authority earned through decades of sacrifice. "The girl has made her choice. We will not force her to surrender. Instead, we will do what we can to help her fight. Engineers prepare emergency repair stations on the surface. Medical teams stand ready for survivors. Everyone else," he paused, looking around at the frightened faces of his people. "Pray. Pray to whatever gods or ancestors you believe in, because today we find out if humanity still has any fight left." The 12 hours passed like water through fingers. Spent the time connected to the dragon, practicing maneuvers in her mind, learning the ship's limits, memorizing attack patterns and escape routes. HWARNG taught her everything it knew, 3 centuries of tactical data compressed into half a day. When the deadline arrived, she was as ready as she would ever be. The dragon rose from Earth like a dark angel, climbing through the atmosphere toward the waiting Armada. On the bridge of the Divine Hammer, High Admiral watched it approach with cold amusement. "One ship," he said to his officers. "They send one ship to face the might of the Empire. These humans truly are insane." "Orders, Admiral." "Destroy it, all ships open fire." 40 warships turned their weapons toward the dragon. The space between them filled with green plasma, white kinetic rounds, and blue energy beams. It was enough firepower to destroy a fleet, enough to crack a planet's crust. But the dragon was not there anymore. Folded space, appearing behind the Armada's left flank. She fired her plasma lances at point-blank range, tearing through a destroyer's engines before anyone could react. The ship exploded, taking a cruiser beside it down in the blast. She folded again, appearing above the Armada. Kinetic rounds punched through another destroyer's bridge. Fold, appearing below, striking at exposed underbellies. Fold, behind a battleship, destroying its sensor arrays. Fold, fold, fold. The Armada fell into chaos. Ships fired wildly, trying to hit a target that never stayed in one place for more than a second. Imperial captains screamed orders that made no sense. Some ships hit each other, their own weapons causing as much damage as the enemy. Felt everything through her connection to the dragon. Every hit she took, every near miss, every moment of danger. HWARNG managed the fold engine, calculating jump coordinates faster than any human mind could process. Together, they danced through the battle like ghosts, leaving destruction in their wake. But the Armada was learning, was not a fool. He recognized the pattern of the attacks, the brief moments between jumps when the dragon was vulnerable. He ordered his ships to spread out, creating overlapping fields of fire. He assigned destroyers to guard the larger vessels, ready to intercept any attack. The dragon's hits became fewer, the misses became more frequent, and the fold engine was heating up, pushing closer to its limits with every jump. Pilot, HWARNG warned, the fold engine is at 87% capacity. If we continue at this rate, we will experience reactor failure in approximately 4 minutes. Dodged another volley of plasma fire, her mind racing. She had destroyed 9 ships, but 31 remained. The flagship was still untouched, protected by the best ships in the Armada. At this rate, she would burn out before she could finish the job. She thought about the breath protocol, the weapon that could destroy capital ships with a single shot, the weapon that required her to stop moving and expose herself to enemy fire. HWARNG, target the flagship, prepare breath protocol. Warning, activating breath protocol will leave us stationary for 4.7 seconds. At current enemy density, probability of destruction during this window is 93%. I know, do it anyway. The dragon stopped moving. Its black hull began to unfold, panels spreading like the wings of a giant bird. Solar collectors emerged from hidden compartments, stretching kilometers across the void of space. Every ship in the Armada opened fire at once. Screamed as impacts slammed into the dragon from all sides. Shields failed. Hull breaches opened. Warning lights filled her vision as system after system reported damage. She felt the ship dying around her, felt HWARNG fighting to keep critical systems online. But the collectors kept gathering sunlight. The weapon kept charging. 3 seconds. Plasma bolts tore through the dragon's left wing. 2 seconds. A kinetic round punched through the engine compartment, causing secondary explosions. 1 second. The breath protocol fired. A beam of pure solar energy, focused through alien technology into a lance of absolute destruction, crossed the space between the dragon and the divine hammer in an instant. It hit the flagship's center mass and did not stop. It burned through shields, through armor, through deck after deck of the enormous vessel. It kept going until it emerged from the other side, continuing on into the void. The divine hammer broke in half. Its reactor went critical. The explosion consumed 3 nearby cruisers and damaged 5 more. High Admiral died without understanding what had killed him. The remaining ships stopped firing. They had just watched their flagship vaporized by a weapon that should not exist, wielded by a species they considered beneath notice. Fear replaced confidence. Pride replaced by terror. One by one, the survivors turned and fled. Floated in the battered remains of the dragon, her body broken, her vision fading. HWARNG's voice came through weak and distorted. Victory achieved, 23 enemy ships destroyed or damaged, enemy retreat confirmed. A pause. Pilot, your vital signs are critical. We must return to Earth for medical attention. Tried to speak but could only manage a whisper. Did we win? Yes, pilot, we won. She smiled, blood on her lips, stars fading to black around her. They had won, 1 ship against an armada, 1 woman against an empire. The dragon began its slow descent toward Earth, trailing fire and smoke, carrying its dying pilot home. Woke up 3 days later in an underground medical facility. The ceiling above her was rough stone, lit by emergency lights powered by old generators. Her body was wrapped in bandages. Tubes connected her arms to bags of medicine. Everything hurt. Sat beside her bed, his eyes red from crying and lack of sleep. When he saw her eyes open, he grabbed her hand and held it tight. "You're alive," he whispered. "I didn't think you would wake up. The doctors said your brain was damaged from the neural connection. They said you might never open your eyes again." Tried to speak, but her throat was dry. Gave her water, helping her drink slowly. "The ship," she finally managed, HWARNG, is the Dragon. Damaged, badly damaged, is leading a repair team, but he says it will take months to fix everything. The fold engine is burned out. Most of the weapons are destroyed, but the core systems survived. HWARNG is still alive, still waiting for you. Closed her eyes. She could feel the connection to the ship even now, a faint thread linking her mind to the AI that had become part of her. HWARNG was quiet, sleeping while repairs continued, but it was there. It would always be there. What happened to the Armada? Smiled, the first real smile she had seen on his face in years. You happened. 17 ships destroyed, including the flagship. 6 more damaged so badly they had to be abandoned. The rest ran away. They ran away from one ship and one pilot. Word of the battle had already spread beyond Earth. Imperial communication networks carried the story to every corner of the galaxy. Official channels tried to suppress it, calling it propaganda and lies. But too many people had witnessed the battle through long-range sensors. Too many survivors had fled back to Imperial space with terror in their eyes. The impossible had happened. The Empire had been beaten in open combat by humans. On a mining colony in the outer systems, human workers heard the news and stopped working. Their overseers shouted orders, threatened punishment, but the workers did not move. They simply stood there, looking up at the sky, thinking about a black ship that had come from nowhere and made the masters bleed. On a factory world, human slaves began to whisper among themselves. At first just rumors, then plans, then something more dangerous than rumors or plans, hope. On a dozen worlds, 100 worlds, 1,000 worlds, the story spread like fire. A dragon had risen from Earth, a dragon that could not be stopped. Elder knew the importance of what had happened. He gathered the resistance leaders and gave them a mission: spread the word to every human in the galaxy. Let them know that the fight was not over. Let them know that if one ship could wound the Empire, imagine what an army could do. But first, they needed to send a message. Worked for days on the broadcast. He found old equipment, repaired broken transmitters, connected power sources that should not have been compatible. When everything was ready, he brought Elder to the broadcast chamber. The old man looked tired. The battle had taken everything from him, including several friends who had died in the chaos. But his eyes were clear, his voice was strong. "Are we ready?" he asked. "Yes, Elder. This signal will reach every Imperial communication network, every ship, every station, every planet. They won't be able to block it in time." Sat in front of the camera. He took a deep breath, thinking about all the words he wanted to say, all the pain and anger and hope that had built up over 72 years of occupation. Then he began to speak. "For 300 years you told us we were nothing, insects, forgotten. You burned our cities. You scattered our children across the stars. You made us work until our bodies broke, then threw us away like garbage. You taught your children that humans were weak, stupid, worthless. You believed your own lies. But we never forgot who we were. We remembered the fire that our ancestors carried in their hearts. We remembered the engineers who built machines that changed the world. We remembered the soldiers who fought against impossible odds and refused to surrender. We remembered the dreamers who looked up at the stars and said, 'One day, we will touch them.' Today, one ship reminded the galaxy what humanity can do. One pilot, untrained and alone, faced your armada and broke it. Your High Admiral is dead. Your flagship is dust. Your soldiers ran away because they were afraid of something they could not understand. You made a mistake. You thought we were broken. You thought 300 years of slavery would crush the human spirit. But spirit cannot be crushed. It can only be hidden, waiting for the right moment to rise again. This is that moment. To every human listening to this message, the dragon is real. The resistance is real. The fight is real. Whatever world you are on, whatever labor you are forced to do, know that you are not alone. Know that somewhere in the galaxy, people are fighting for you. And know that we will never stop fighting until every human being is free. To the Empire, remember this day. Remember when you learned that the species you dismissed as broken still had fire in its heart. We are humanity. We are not forgotten, and we are coming for everything you took from us. The broadcast ended. Cut the transmission before Imperial forces could trace it. But it was too late to stop the signal. The message was already racing across the galaxy at the speed of light, reaching billions of ears, human and alien alike. In the medical facility, watched the broadcast on a small screen beside her bed. Tears ran down her face, but she was smiling. "He's right," she said too. "We're just getting started." Months passed. The dragon was slowly repaired. Worked day and night, finding creative solutions to impossible problems, rebuilding systems that had been destroyed beyond recognition. HWARANG helped where it could, guiding the engineers through 300-year-old technology. Recovered too, though her body would never be the same. The neural connection had left scars on her brain, permanent damage that caused headaches and sometimes made her see things that were not there. But she could still pilot. She could still fight. And there was more to fight for now. The message had worked better than anyone expected. Human uprisings broke out on 17 worlds. Most were crushed quickly, but some survived. Rebel groups made contact with Earth, sharing intelligence and coordinating attacks. For the first time in 3 centuries, humanity was not just surviving, it was organizing. And there were other discoveries. Deep in the bunkers beneath Old Sol, engineers found sealed chambers they had not noticed before. Inside these chambers were blueprints, technical diagrams, manufacturing instructions, plans for building more dragons. The original designers had known that one ship would not be enough. They had hidden the knowledge needed to create an entire fleet, waiting for the day when humanity would be ready to use it. That day had finally come. Studied the blueprints with tears in his eyes. This is everything. Power systems, weapons, hull materials, fold engines. Everything we need to build more ships. "How many?" Elder asked. "If we can find the resources. Dozens, maybe hundreds." Stood at the entrance to the dragon's chamber, looking up at the ship that had changed her life. The repairs were nearly complete. The black hull gleamed under the emergency lights, beautiful and terrible, a weapon designed for war. She reached out and touched the metal. It was warm, as always, as if the ship was alive and breathing. "HWARNG," she said quietly. "Are you there?" "Always, pilot. I am part of you now. We are part of each other. The Empire will come back. They'll send more ships, more soldiers. They won't make the same mistakes again." "No, they will not. The next battle will be harder. We may not survive." Smiled. "Then we'd better be ready. We'd better build more dragons." Agreed. The war is only beginning. She turned away from the ship and walked toward the planning room where Anne and Elder were waiting. There was so much work to do, ships to build, soldiers to train, alliances to forge, an empire to overthrow. It would take years, maybe decades. It would cost countless lives. Many of the people in this room would not live to see the end. But for the first time in 300 years, humanity had a real chance, not just to survive, but to win. The dragon had woken, and it was hungry for more. In the darkness of space, Imperial commanders looked toward Earth with new fear in their hearts. They had thought the human problem was solved forever. They had been wrong. Now they would pay for their arrogance, one battle at a time, one ship at a time, one dragon at a time. Until the galaxy remembered what it meant to be afraid of the small blue planet called Earth. Until humanity took back everything that was stolen from them. Until the fire in their hearts burned so bright that even the stars would bow before it. The dragon's roar echoed across the universe, and somewhere in the void, the Empire trembled. The war had just begun,